And we are
And
live.
we're live.
Nice. Well, welcome everyone. I think that we already have some people joining, so it's a pleasure to have you again. If this is the first time that you're actually joining us, the format of the session is a live Q&A session. So we'll have a guest, and the idea is for you to actually ask questions in the chat. Okay, so I will encourage you during the whole session to actually ask those questions, and our guest will get them those answers. Okay, so my name is Ignacio. I'll be your host today. I have Tom from our team as well. He will be moderating all the questions and everything. So please put them in the chat. And we have a super special topic today and a really great guest, but we'll make a few minutes in order to get people to join. So, in the meantime, if you can actually tell us what's your current role and just click in the chat there and just tell us what's your current role so that we can start things off by chatting there. And then yeah, please tell us like what's your current role, and we'll wait a few more minutes so that people still are joining, and then I will introduce you to our guest today. So I think that people are still joining. We'll wait a few more minutes, and then we'll kick things off.
Don't be shy. Don't worry.
We already have one. So
Yeah, Damien.
Damien, partner manager, welcome Damien, thanks for joining. Tom, Associate Partnership Manager. Welcome, Tom. Thanks for joining.
You're in the right spot.
They're in the right place, right? Cool, cool. So more people joining. So we'll wait one more minute and then we'll kick things off because we have a lot to cover today. And again, if this is the first time that you're joining, by the way, this will be also be shared the recording. So if you're watching the recording, also please make sure to join next time live so you can get your questions answered by the guest as well. Okay. So maybe a few more seconds and then we'll kick things off. Perfect. Tommy, I think that we are ready, right?
Yep.
Perfect. Okay, so today the topic is the power of precision, how Formula One thinking actually can transform your partner program, what we can learn from those topics. And I think that well, welcome Kirk. You are a partner manager looking forward to the insights. Nice. Welcome, Kirk. So today our guest is Greg Plum. I think that we are going to learn a lot. Greg served as channel director for several SaaS companies, and then he was a partner strategist for consultant for more than 25 years. So he has a lot of experience. He was actually recognized as top 50 global influencer in ecosystems, and he's a three-time TEDx speaker. So Greg, welcome. Thanks for doing this and for taking the time.
It just means I don't like to say no to a microphone. That's all that means. So no, happy to be here. Good to see you all.
Good to see you, Greg, and it's a pleasure to have you. So, before we jump into the first subtopic, and we have a lot to cover, and Greg will actually pull a presentation and run those through, but we wanted to make sure that we actually engage with the audience. So, maybe we can kick off things with the first poll, Tom.
hmm
Okay.
It's this one, right? Or
Yes,
it's not.
this is the first
Oh,
one.
okay.
So, how long have you been
Great.
supporting partners? So, between 0 to 5 years, 5 to 10 years, or more than 10 years? We want to really know how much years of experience do you have, and this will give an idea of Greg of the audience. So, it seems like more than 10 years, 50-50, or zero
I
to
love it.
five.
So we're
So, it's
split.
a mix. It's
It's
split,
cool.
right?
I love it. So we've got those just started. Well, I say 0 to 5 is starting out because it's a pretty
Yeah,
complicated thing we're doing. So you're
correct.
still relatively green. Oh, we've got some. Okay, so we're all over the board here, which is great. The beauty is the concept what we're going to talk about today doesn't matter how long you've been doing this. It's I've been doing it for 25 years. Yet I still learn all the time on this. So
Mhm.
I think you're still in the right spot.
This is great. This is great. So, well,
Yeah.
thanks for sharing. And again, I will encourage you to put the questions there in the chat, and Greg will get them answers before we end up. Like during that specific topic, Greg will answer those questions. Okay. So, Greg, I think that you got a presentation. If you want to pull it up and then start and kick things off with the first subtopic, all yours.
I do. I do. Give me just one moment here. We good?
Yeah, perfect.
Great.
All
Excellent.
yours.
Awesome.
Excellent. So, thanks everybody for being here. I love. We're going to be talking about something I'm pretty passionate about. I fell into the world of partnerships 25 years ago. I was given a job to be a sales guy in communications, my first tech company, after being a recovering banker after a 10-year banking career. And discovered I wasn't very good at transactional sales, and then learned about this concept of a partner channel. And back then it was called an alternate channel, which means, redheaded stepchild, right? You're really not core to the business. You're just out there and seeing what you can do. Well, we know that's changed, right? That's why we're here. That's why partnerships have become such a massive focus for all businesses, all industries, all sizes. So I have been doing this for a long time, 25 years building programs. I am on faculty at GTIA, which is formerly CompTIA. If you've heard of CompTIA, they're the A+, Network Plus, Security Plus certification folks. They were, or they still are. GTIA is now the community and education side, and I'm on faculty. And we're going to cover a couple of the concepts. I teach a boot camp for them. A couple of the concepts that I teach, we're going to cover today as well. Today by day, when I'm not doing fun things talking about partnerships, I'm actually executing, recruiting effective partners for my company, Bridgepointe Technologies, which is based in the US, in the Silicon Valley, 23-year-old company. That's a tech advisory firm. So we have a very specific partner model, which we're going to talk about today. So not only do I talk about it, this is what I get to do day in, day out, focusing mostly on the front end of that, on the recruiting of the right partners. All right, guys, here's what I hear all the time, right? In working with different companies, consulting, I would work a lot with either partner pros. Oftentimes with SaaS company, I was working with founders or CROs that were looking to go to market. The first thing that they typically ask, either you're starting out as in a new role, or you're starting a new brand. The first thing, almost always, the founder or the partner manager, they ask, the question is, who do I know that can sell my stuff? What I'm offering, either my product, my service. Who do I know? Well, problem is that's 100% the wrong question to ask. What we need to do is kind of reverse engineer it. The whole point of this, and this is where the whole concept of an F1, a Formula One pit crew comes in. Look, this is kind of what direct selling is. Historically, if you're going to sell direct, this is what it is. You're all going after that one, that what you're calling, we should know who our ICP, our ideal customer profile is. That's step one. If you don't know that, then you need to really go back and retool. You can't think about a partner program until you clearly identify who you are specifically targeting. And you guys, here's what I hear all the time. When I ask the question, well, who's your target customer? Well, everybody. Everybody can use our service. That may be the case, but that's a horrible answer. The value, the power that comes from focus. So it's about knowing exactly who you serve and who you serve better than anybody else and why, and building that value proposition. So once you have that dialed in, now you can start talking about an ideal partner profile. But until you have that, don't even try building a partner program, because you will not succeed. And I can tell you firsthand, because I failed way more times than I've succeeded. And it just comes, it's because of not having that clear picture right out of the gate. So this is what, when you're selling directly, this is what you're doing, right? We're all going after that person that needs our service. Well, do you think you're the only one that's approaching them? I mean, they're being bombarded everywhere, every media outlet today more than ever. Most people, I was in a session the other day, and they said, well, how many people get more than 100 emails a day? Everybody's hand went up, right? How in the world do you stand out when your audience is inundated and your market is saturated? So how do you do it? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to say, let's take this app. You see, notice the lens, right? That's by design. That's not an accident. That's my weak attempt at Photoshop. But what happens when you go and you step back a little bit? You basically are pulling back and saying, okay, there's the driver still. But when they pull into the pit, right, they're racing around the course. When they pull into the pit, this is what happens. They get swarmed. 20 or so people. Common goal, specific task, common goal to get that driver back out on the track as soon as possible, and ultimately, hopefully across the finish line first, but at least safely. That is their goal. When we want to get the attention of that driver, or if we want to focus on that driver, knowing who all these players are is critical. Think about it. Why would it be important to know who that person right at the top of the driver there? Why would it be important to know who that person is? Because they already have the attention of the driver. Driver doesn't know who you are. That person already has that driver's ear. So you have two choices now. You can go directly to the driver, or now you start to go to that other person in the pit, or the other person in the pit, or the other person in the pit. Now you start to see here's other routes to get into that. We're going to do, okay, this is all conceptual now. It sounds, yeah, that's all great and fluffy, but what does that mean? We'll talk about exactly what that means. So who are these players? Well, back to here we are. We're going to take a deeper dive. Now, here's our customer, right? This is who you're focusing on. Well, the question is, to do their job, what is the job to be done? How do they do it? Who helps them day to day get their job done? Like what entities? So here's just some examples to start to think about. Marketplaces. What does that mean? Okay, Salesforce is a marketplace. Microsoft is a marketplace. If they're using these platforms, they're going to be exposed to those marketplaces. So question is, should I be in that marketplace? If my target customer is there, should I be there? Just one to think about. Member organization is a big one. I started my career. I shared that I was a recovering banker, and I started my career with a credit card company, MBNA, back in I won't say when, a long time ago, and they built their entire business on affinity marketing. So they've looked at marketing associations. It was way more, and you're never going to see an MBNA credit card advertisement on TV or the radio, because that's mass marketing. This was much more targeted. This was going after the American Dental Association or the National Education Association or Ducks Unlimited. There was already an affinity. So it made sense for us to go that route, much more targeted, much more focused effort. You can do the same thing. Your audience, whoever you're targeting, chances are they're parts of different organizations. If they're professional, if they're an accountant, they're probably going to be a part of different accounting associations. Know who they are. Can you work with them? I did this years ago with attorneys, with the state bar. I got in, came up with a program specifically for the state bar. Now, all of a sudden, I'm not selling directly to the attorneys. The state bar, who they already know, they trust, they're actually getting my message out to them. In exchange for what? Well, of course, they got preferential pricing. I would sponsor events, but this is a way to get the attention of your audience without actually trying to beat them directly over the head. Integrators, they're going to have technologists that are working with them. The larger the company, the more people are going to need to lean on to help them with their systems, getting them all communicating with one another. There's going to be a tech team that you need to be aware of. Do they have third parties that they work with, that they pull in? Do they work with an MSP, managed services provider for outsourced IT? You need to know these. That theoretically could be a potential route into that customer as well. We can't ignore influencers. One I love using. I mean, I actually start my day with Seth Godin. I don't know if you all know Seth Godin, not necessarily personally, but at least of him. He wrote a book called Purple Cow. And I just learned about him years ago and have just followed. And every morning I get his blog post. And sometimes they fall on deaf ears. It didn't hit me, but most times it's like that absolutely is something that can help me in my day-to-day. So he would be, whenever he sends something, I'm paying attention to it, right? So you can use these influencers to get your message to your target audience, assuming I would be if I was your target audience. So look to those influencers. Another one that I've worked, Simon Sinek, if you all know him. I mean, that's another one. These are just folks that I pay attention to. So when they bring a message to me, I'm going to pay more attention to it than if I saw an email hit my inbox. Consultants, chances are they have a business consultant. They may have a life coach. right? Just knowing who your target customers are and who is helping them on a daily basis, that again, potential route into them. The one that gets, I'd say, overlooked most often are competitors. Look, nobody has the luxury of being in a space where they're the only game in town. We all have competition. That competition is not necessarily a bad thing. I spent I'd say the first decade of my career in technology really not happy with my competition. Just didn't like them personally. And it's a silly thing. It's an immature approach, because if you take a look at it, there are oftentimes an opportunity to really bolt on. Let's look at the competition. Let's see where they're strong. Do they have any weaknesses? Is there a way for us to actually lock arms and better serve that customer? So that helps to know them. And quite frankly, if you're going to your customer and you don't know your competition, you are at a disadvantage. So you have to know who they are at the very least, so you can provide expert advice to the customer and your partner and their customer. At the best, you might have a co-opetition scenario where you can actually work on deals together. This is you, right? And this could be anybody. Honestly, this could be, I'm assuming, everybody here, we know we're all partner pros. So we work for some kind of, it doesn't have to be a tech company. Most times it's a technology company, but we are working on building partnerships. So the key is, how do you insert yourself? We all want to get to that person. We want to get to that driver, but how do we do it? Well, you can directly go after one type of partner, or now start to step back, right? Open the aperture. Who else is impacting them? And what it will do, it's going to open your eyes to new, maybe non-traditional partners. But that's a beautiful thing, because others are likely not paying attention to them either. So that's the whole approach. That's what this F1 concept is about. These people are already talking to your ideal customer. Why not let them see what you're all about, how you can help them better serve this mutual customer? You help that influencer or that consultant better serve their customer. They've got another book of business. They bring you along for the ride. That's the beauty of this. It's like that pebble that pierces the water, right? It has that ripple effect. Same concept here. I think we have. Do we have
Love
a?
it.
Well,
Yeah,
let's see.
we do. We do. So if you're joining or just recently joined, please put the questions there in the chat so that Greg can answer those. So if you have questions, put them in the chat. But we have another poll before we move to the next subtopic. So Tommy, if you can bring us the next poll. So how many partners are you currently supporting? It could be 0 to 10, 11 to 50, or up to 100, or more than 100. Please tell us there so that we can have an idea of how many partners are you currently supporting.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, Ignacio, translating, since I can't actually see it. If you can let me know what comes in,
Yes,
that'd be
sure. So we are 50-50 with up to 50 and then up to 100. So currently it's split it between 11 and 50. Now it's 67% 11 up to 50. And we have 33% 50 to 100. Now 75% between 11 and 50. So there's a clear tendency of like 11 to 50, and then the rest is split between 50 to 100 and 100 plus.
We have
How many?
100 plus.
What percent do we have at 100 plus?
20%.
20.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
My
So
pleasure.
if you're working with 10 to 50 partners, that's good, right? That's it's doable, right? The challenge here is to try to figure out who in the world, where do we focus our time? And part of what we do in the GTIA course is really segmenting and looking at your base. And that's the first thing you do, is go in and dissect it. We know everybody on the call here has some level of experience, so it's not like you're starting from scratch. But if you think of yourself, one of the concepts we teach is, think of yourself as a venture capitalist. You've got a portfolio. Where do you spend your time? Well, you want to be spending the time on those that stand the highest potential for return on your investment being your time, and maybe MDF, right? You may have dollars to throw at them, but you want to make sure you're focusing on those that are going to have the highest potential for return. Now, if you've got 100 plus, how do you do that, right? There's only so many hours in a day. It's really going in and segmenting, and the quadrants. Everybody loves quadrants, right? The quadrants that we work on in that program, in that boot camp, is we look at unrealized, or the most unrealized potential. Which ones could grow the most? So if I'm looking at my base, I'm looking at all my partners. Where should I be spending my time? The two that have the highest potential, and I don't have this graphic here because I wasn't planning on covering this, but I think it's pretty important, are your diamonds in the rough. Okay, those are the ones that are really not doing much with you, but you know that they have potential. There's a good fit here. We're aligned. We serve the same customer. We have value to be able to help them better serve their customer. That's ones you definitely want to be focusing on. The others are your MVPs. They're already producing. They're in stride, and that you know that there's more growth. That you want to focus your time there. So between those two, brand new, but you know there's potential, or they've been with you and they are this kind of upward trajectory, that's where you want to focus. The other two, and when you go in and look at 100 plus, you need to start segmenting them and categorizing them. The other two are, believe it or not, they're going to sound diametrically opposed. Laggards, okay, we know what that is. They're just not producing. Chances of producing are slim. The other one, cash cows. And that sounds like a good thing, and it is a good thing, right? These are not accounts that we ignore. It just means putting more effort into them may not reap incremental benefit. They're kind of producing at capacity, and that's great. It means you support them as best you can. It does not mean you put fuel on that one all the time and give them all of your attention, because they're already producing. So those are the ones you want to start to think about when you're analyzing your base. So as like an action item from today, so many of these sessions you talk in theory and in concept. My goal is to make it so when tomorrow, or when we hang up this call, to give you something to do, so you're going to actually get a little bit of homework. So in the real world, this is what this looks like. I'm guessing this should make sense for you all. These are the types, if we break it down to our role, I'm guessing these are probably some of your partners. If not, maybe it'll tweak some ideas, or maybe it'll spark some ideas of thinking, okay, maybe I should be focused on social media influencers. Maybe they can help get my message out. Or maybe I've focused only on telco, but maybe the whole managed services, the IT side of things, that's something that's an active part of what I do daily right now. Looking for new veins, channels to be able to develop. Hope that all makes sense. Let's ask that. Do any questions out there? Does anybody have anything looking at this side? Because this is kind of where the rubber meets the road, pun intended.
Yeah.
So I think George has a comment. I can read it for you. George says, I used to work in a backup software provider with 5K plus partners, active up to 100 only, which literally makes no sense because channel managers simply didn't have enough time to simply qualify them, not saying update them or share latest news on time.
Yeah. He used to do. Okay, so what did they do? I'm curious, because you're right. That is not feasible. You need to break it down to something that's going to be manageable. And if you can manage it, you can influence it. If you can't, it's just you're at the mercy of the system, and that's very, very difficult to predict and influence. I'm curious. Next, can we get a next additional commentary? What did they do in that situation? Or did he just
George?
leave?
No, George is here.
If you wanna
He'll
give
No,
probably
did
elaborate.
he leave the company?
Okay. George, help us here. We need more information.
Do we have other questions while we're
Not
not
right
for
now,
now,
but
no. But please if you have any questions for Greg, just put them there in the chat. So click in the chat and then just
don't be
ask them.
shy. Whatever the situation is, Greg can help you for sure.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think
that's
that
a
we can
tall
continue,
order.
Greg, with the presentation, and then probably George will give us his input.
Absolutely. But that is an extreme case, and you can see how ineffective that can be, right? It's about focus. If you can focus your efforts somewhere, that's where results happen. If you're going to be spread so thin, you're just not going to be able. You'll be lucky if you get success, and success rarely follows luck. Okay, so let's take all that. We're going to now step away from the fun analogy with Formula One. What does that mean to me in my job? Okay, I'm a partner professional. Okay, what do I do? How do I go about finding, let's say I want to find some new partners. What do I do? Okay, first thing, we already said this, ICP. You need to know who your ideal customer profile is. If somebody asked you that question, you said anybody, that's wrong. You need to go back to the drawing board. Really think about who you better serve than anybody else. That's your first thing. So once you identify and know who that is, what do they do on a daily basis? Who impacts them? What is the job to be done, and who helps them get their job done? What that's going to do, that's going to expose their pit crew, right? Who are all those entities? Now you get in and say, of those, let's say there's 15 or 20, I'm going to pick 3 that I'm going to focus on. These are right in my wheelhouse, this type of partner. And things you have to look at, it's about alignment, right? And the whole thing, actually, notice we have not said AI once yet. This is the first time I'm mentioning AI for the first time. You can't go anywhere without hearing AI right now. The AI in partnerships at this moment in time, it's not what you're thinking. It's around alignment and influence. Even better, inspiration. That's what your job is, to find aligned partners. And then you have to give them a reason to think of you and position you to their customers. When you do that, that's kind of that's where the magic happens. But then we go and we find our ideal, the IPP. That's what we work on right now at Bridgepointe. We're finding our ideal, and we have a few different profiles. That's what we focus on. There are many others that we could promote our service and evangelize into, but we're focusing on where we know we're most effective. That's the key by having that focus. Now, once you do that, once you have those, how do you fit? Why do they care? Why does what you're doing, why should they pay attention to? How do you help them better serve? Really, the question is, how do you help them better get their job done, better serve their customer? Once you've identified that, that's your value prop. You have to know not only your speeds and feeds, bells and whistles, features and benefits. That's not what it's about. It's about how working with me makes their lives easier. They're being the ICP, your partner's customer. Now you've got a few, either you've clarified and you're crystal clear on who your partner is, and that's where you focus on. You may come up with a new one you never even thought of. That's what this whole exercise is about. Start with your ICP, scrutinize them. What do they do? How do they get their job done? Who's helping them get their job done? That is your route to additional partner profiles. Okay, so I promised a little bit. Any questions? Anything? Do we hear back from George?
Not yet.
Nope.
Not
Okay,
yet.
all right.
But we
Okay,
do have new people, so if you're just joining, please put the questions there in the chat if you have any, so that Greg can get those answered.
perfect. So I shared that I do some of this with for GTIA, which is Global Technology Industry Association, which is a global nonprofit supporting the IT industry. And part of the content in the boot camp, I thought made sense to bring here. So these are the things we need to think about when we're building our partner programs. And this applies to somebody who's been in the business for 6 months or 6 or 26 years. Same concept. It's around 3 basic concepts. We have to know this. We have to approach everything we're doing through the eyes, through the lens of the partner, not from us. We do not matter. And one of the central themes in teaching that workshop is our leadership, us, our goals do not matter. We have to approach it through the lens of the partner. How do we help that partner better serve their customer? When we get that dialed in, that's when they're going to pay attention to us. That's when they're going to take us to their customer and maybe rebuke, maybe not pay attention to our competition. Even if you're unseating, you may have to unseat competition, or maybe you complement another offering. I was just actually in a session this morning, and it was a cybersecurity discussion. And the question is, well, do we displace that competition? Well, actually in this one, this was a phishing software. Actually, we figured out a way they can bolt on. They can actually work in tandem. Well, isn't that a beautiful thing? Now, all of a sudden, we have a new story and a new potential outlet, a new route to market, because this company that we thought was competition now actually becomes a potential partner. Now, we can't be blind to the fact that our customers and our partners have more choices than ever. I mean, technology is changing at light speed, like it's never has before. Everybody has choice. And one of the studies that was done, PricewaterhouseCoopers found that 1 in 3 customers or buying entities would leave a brand that they love 1 in 3, 33% would leave a brand that they love, not just like, love, if they have a bad experience. So that's just because we're a function of the fact that they have so many choices. They're inundated constantly. So we have to stay on our game. We have to know that they have alternatives. We have to know the unique value proposition and support them and execute. Flawlessly is a bit lofty, but as best we can, as consistently as we can, to keep that relationship. It is an ongoing thing. It is a dance that is choreographed, and we stay. The longer you do it, the tighter and more lucrative and productive that relationship is. And we have to be aligned. Again, it starts with the ICP. If we are misaligned in our goals, if we want different things, meaning the partner has certain business goals and we have different sales goals, it's not going to work no matter how good our compensation package is. I'll give you an example. And here's a screw up. This is a classic screw up that I did. I didn't know how my partner made money. I was working with a software company in the Salesforce ecosystem. So I had a great meeting set up with 30 Salesforce consultants in a room. And this should have been, in my mind, this was going to change the business for the better, and went through everything and presented, and everything was all fine. But I thought that I was excited because the mic drop moment, I thought, for me, was going to be when I shared that we had a 40% recurring monthly commission on all business for the life of the customer, evergreen. It's pretty rich in that space. And I literally was met with blank stares. It's because that compensation never made it to the people in the room. So I didn't know how they made money. They made money more from project basis, and the challenge for them, or what their goal was, to frankly have the more complicated the project, the more engagement, the longer the project, the more margin, the more profitable that client was. So this revenue that I was bringing to the table fell on deaf ears. So that was on me. I didn't know how they made money. So we were not aligned. What we set up, the process we set up, was not aligned with their business goals. Obviously, that one didn't go very far.
We
So I'm
love those
sharing that failure.
examples, Greg.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing those, because those are important. So I think that we got George back, right, Tom?
Yeah, he's back, and here's his answer. So he says they simply grabbed onto anyone they could get their hands on, but in reality, the level of qualification and partnership as such suffered greatly, as managers simply grabbed onto anyone without truly delving into the matter, problems, partner questions, solutions to issues, etc. Now, having headed to the partnership department in a different and much more niche field, I understand that it's better to have 50 partners who are in contact with you and are engaged than 5,000 dormant partners. That's my main point.
Yes.
I don't even know what else to say to that, but spot on. Absolutely, 100%. And unfortunately, George learned the hard way. But
Thanks
it's
for
something
sharing.
He learned.
he
So
certainly
that's the
won't
most
repeat it.
important.
He
Yeah.
he was a victim of that situation. So that's something obviously you'd recognize again. If you see it ever saw that situation again, that's when you either figure out if they're up for retooling or run, turn the other way, go somewhere else.
Yeah. Greg, I think that we have something else for the audience, right?
We do. So I'm happy to. Before we, I'm actually happy to set up a session. If you want 30 minutes where you want to talk about, I'm sorry, let me back up for 1 second, because I promised homework.
Yes.
You weren't trying to get me out.
Exactly.
Here's
Yeah.
what I think. Here's what I'd like to see everybody doing. This is something that we do in the GTIA sessions, where people walk away with action items. So if you, like today, we're all partner pros already. We're already working with partners. My homework, my challenge to you, is to find, if you have 10, 30, 300 partners right now, pick three. Pick three that we have their unrealized potential. Either they're an MVP already, or we know there's potential that they're not achieving. Pick three of them. Set up a meeting. Let them know make sure they understand exactly. Maybe they don't know when to think of you, or how you fit in with their business model. Make sure your value prop is crystal clear. And I would ask them for 5 referrals. Let's set up, and let me rephrase that. I say referral. That's not what I want. Have them set up 5 meetings with you, with them, with the customer. It could be in person. It could be Zoom, Teams, doesn't matter. 30-minute session. It's basically a discovery session. And what that's going to do, it's going to help solidify a couple of things. Well, number one, it's going to be a new touch point with a customer. If they already have this customer, they've already sold into them, there's already trust built. Now they're going to bring you into that table, into that equation. It's going to make the partner better understand what your value is and help and see the support that you're willing to offer. That's going to help build that. And look, a good partner is an annuity. A good partner will be with you for a long time. I have partners that have become friends that I've known for you know, a quarter of a century, and that will continue. So that's what the goal here. Nothing about what we're doing is transactional. Nothing. It's all about the relationship, the investing in that, the long term. And ask for five. Look, find us three. Let's set up 5 meetings. I promise no bad will come from it. I can't promise that revenue is going to come from it, but I can promise that certainly there's going to be positive momentum, at the very least, with that partner relationship. So now they see what you're capable of. And the upside of that, the flip side, chances are there will be some. If you're doing five, I would imagine you can probably see some revenue potential if they're properly screening and they know where you fit with one out of them. So that's 20%. So that's pretty. So there's your homework. So pick 3 partners. And what is today? Is today Thursday? Do it before tomorrow. Pick 3 partners. Set up a meeting with them and say, here's what we're doing. Let's set up before, everyone's going to start saying, well, the holidays. Okay, let somebody else take their foot off the gas. Let's keep the F1 analogy going. Let somebody else take their foot off the gas. Go set up those meetings now when others might be not paying attention. And
Yes.
then you're hitting, 2026 out of the gate.
That's a great
My job.
homework actually, and I think that if everyone does this, they will see good results. So, Greg, thanks for actually doing this. And again, if anyone wants to get in touch with Greg, please, there's a button there that says "Talk to Greg." Just click there, and Greg is super happy to have a conversation and share more and even think. So please do. And again, if you have any other questions for Greg, just get in touch with him and connect via LinkedIn. Or you have a QR as well, right?
Yeah, the QR codes that goes to my LinkedIn. Yeah, I'd happy to connect with anybody. And what I'm doing at Bridgepointe, we're working with with partner pros, with sales rock stars that want to actually launch their own business. That's what we do, is we empower them. We're a tech advisory firm. You could sell insurance, financial products, or technology. We help individuals sell technology itself. So that's what I am happy to chat anything partnerships, but feel free to reach out for sure.
Perfect. There's the QR and also the bottom
Yep.
there. So if you want to reach out to Greg, you can, and if you're watching the recording, you can even scan the QR as well. So, Greg, again, thanks for taking the time for doing this. It was really kind of like you threw a lot of knowledge there, but I think that people at least got some exercise to do, which is great, and some takeaways. So thanks. And again, if you are joining live, you see that you have the ability to actually ask questions, and the guests will answer those during the session. So please join us live in the coming ones. And Greg, again, thanks for doing this and for taking the time to join and to do this for the audience.
My pleasure, guys. It was fun.
It was
It was
fun.
great.
Well,
Yep.
thank you so much, and we see you in the next one.
Bye.